Here's a live look at Bellwoods and Dundas, where the memorial for Toronto teen Sammy Yatim continues to grow. The police constable charged with his death was granted bail today. The teen was wielding a knife on board a streetcar near Dundas and Bellwoods when he was shot and killed. Now, for more on today's legal proceedings, we're joined now by lawyer Ari Goldkind. Thanks for coming in, Ari. We appreciate it. Just give us your thoughts on what happened today in court.
It's great to be here with you, Nathan. As a defense lawyer practicing in this city, today was a real wake-up call, not only for me, but probably a lot of the people watching, which is, how does this officer get bail when you're charged with a second-degree murder? What it speaks to for me is the difference about how poor people, mentally ill people, people without resources are treated versus people with money or people who are police officers charged with very serious crimes.
So you weren't surprised then that he was granted bail?
Unfortunately, I was not surprised at all, and I think that's the real problem that I have with it, is I could have predicted it a mile away.
What about the bail at, $500,000?
Well, sorry to interrupt you. That's exactly the message that if any of your viewers came down to Old City Hall or any courthouse throughout Ontario and watched how bails are usually $1,000, $2,000, most people who get charged with crimes don't have money. Crowns want to keep them in jail. Here we have the Crown consenting to the release of somebody charged with putting 9 bullets into an 18-year-old boy.
So what should have happened?
Well, I'll tell you this, and there's a ground in bail called the tertiary ground, which says if the public is in an uproar, or it would bring the administration of justice into disrepute, or if a gun is used in a crime, the Crown seeks the detention of that person, even if it's agreed that that person will not commit a crime on bail. Today, the Crown says, nope, we're not going down that road, but if you go home and do something egregious, the Crown may seek your detention, even if you do something minor. Very different standards depending on where you sit in the system.
Well, what about the argument that his job was to serve and protect? It's not your regular guy on the street.
Well, that's a great term that you use, Nathan, serve and protect. This was an 18-year-old boy on a streetcar by himself with a knife. What was he going to do, carve up fabric? At the end of the day, this is to serve and protect. Means that this boy should be served and protected by Toronto's finest. There were 10, 15, 20 officers there. Somebody take a deep breath, somebody wait, somebody say to themselves, we don't need to pull out our firearms just yet. My view of the term serve and protect would have led to the exact opposite result of what we saw.
Now, the publication ban, some might argue that it could compromise the integrity of the investigation and the case, so therefore you need it. But others would argue you want it to be seamless, you want people to see what's happening so that they don't think that there's a bias. What's your stance on this?
Well, I take a different view than most, and most people just seem to say the party line. I take the view that everything should see the light of day. Sunlight is the best antiseptic. I'll ask you and the people watching this, if somebody didn't have their cell phone camera videotaping this and putting it on YouTube, how different would this situation be right now? So while I stand for the idea that everybody's presumed innocent and everybody deserves their day in court, it's the Constitution, at the end of the day, this is a situation where people should know what's going on, and the more people know, the better.
How do you think it's going to play out? Some think he's a scapegoat, and the trial will take 2-3 years, and by that time, they'll work something out, work out a deal.
I think the odds, again, having no inside knowledge on this, the odds of a deal being worked out are very high, and as you know, the SIU, which is an independent body, has never, I think at least in the last little while, charged one person with murder, and to get to the bottom line, when there's smoke, there's fire.
All right, Ari Goldkind, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.
It's 5:56, 29 degrees. This is Toronto's Breaking News CP24. More news still ahead. Stay with us.
Michelle Dubé.